the concerned citizens that's here tonight to address the removal of the elm trees from Oxford Square. And you are all concerned citizens that are here for the same reason. So I think we should give ourselves a hand for coming out. Hopefully the rain holds off. I'd like to thank Christy for organizing the rally on Saturday. And also we had a great turnout, and it was great that the councillors came, 2 councillors, and it was great that the mayor came. We need their support, and I think that we all understand they're good people. We want to work with the city, we want to work with them, but we need them to know that we're not going to be quiet about this. We need those trees. Just about trees. This is about our heritage. This is about Fredericton, the capital city of New Brunswick, one of the oldest provinces in the east coast of Canada. And if we tear down our heritage, what are we left with? You know, Toronto, Vancouver. So, a few public service announcements. The City Council does meet at 7:30. You are welcome to go to that meeting if you want. We're welcome to stay out here. We were not able to speak tonight because we haven't run out the proper.
People go down there
we're hoping
like sit in the
that
shade.
with all of the emails that people have been sending to councillors around the city, that this issue will be put on the agenda for next council meeting. A moratorium needs to be put in place so the trees cannot be touched this week, and instead the city speak with us and we come up with a compromise with the arborists, with the city, with the public. If some trees have to go, I think we're okay with that, but we need to discuss and we need to have a compromise. So, if you haven't emailed your councillor for your ward, you need to email them and you need to mention to them your concerns. You need to mention that this issue needs to be brought up. Mayor Michael O'Brien said on Saturday, and Global News quoted, that he will bring this to City Council. Let's make sure he does. Let's find a way to read the minutes from the meeting tonight and make sure that he did bring up this issue. You know, it's a responsibility of a councillor or the mayor to bring up issues of concerned citizens to council. And if he, thank you. We elect them. They don't elect us. We elect them. So they represent us. So we need to make sure that our voices are heard through them. So, I have written a few remarks. They're kind of personal, but I think that they can resonate with most of you. And then I believe Christy will say a few words, and Jason, and then maybe we'll even open up the microphone if citizens would like to come up and share their concerns or point out facts. I think that would be good to start a discussion, kind of a town hall style. So, I'll start. This is my letter I wrote to City Council. Dear City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening outside about a topic which is of importance not only to me but to thousands of citizens in the capital city. If I may, I would like to set the stage. I first moved to Fredericton in 2002 prior to attending Mount Allison University, and subsequently returned here full-time in 2006 upon graduating. My first apartment was a small 2-bedroom on King Street above Westminster Books. Shout out to Westminster. Where the only thing shading my view of King's Place was a tall and vibrant ash tree. In spring, summer, and fall, its leaves gave me something to look at that wasn't postmodern architecture and a bright red McDonald's sign. This tree was the first thing I saw when I looked out my windows in the morning, and the last thing I saw reflected in sunlight at the end of the day. Soon I saw more trees and began interacting with more still. I loved picnicking under the middle-aged maples along the green, and reading under the overwhelming oaks outside of Christchurch. But the elegant and the mighty elms were what spoke to me the most. They were and are the kings and queens of the streets, rising taller than any other tree, their gangly limbs reaching out, hugging and shading us tiny citizens below. This is a subnote. Thank you. The mayor even stepped under one of these trees for shade at Saturday's rally. If I could wink, which I can't wink, I would.
Should say idiot mayor.
I've often thought of their age and the things that they have seen since their planting, 70, 80, 100, even 150 years ago. If only they could talk and share their stories. What would they say? What would their opinions of how Fredericton has transformed over the years be? A major reason why I love Fredericton so much and wanted to move back here was because of its heritage. To me, the heart of any old city is its downtown, where it all began. Of course, we know that Fredericton began long before European settlers. It began with the settling of the First Nations, those who named the mighty river that ran through their land and named it the Willistock. And the trees, well, they were here before any of us. Fredericton has a rich history and a visual story that it tells with every historic home, church, school, mom and pop business, park, field, and tree that survives. When this priceless heritage that does have economic value is erased, so too are those stories and those visual reminders of where we all came from. If I can ask the council this question, I hope they can hear me from in there. How often have you seen a tourist, you guys can think about this too, how often have you seen a tourist arriving to Fredericton, rush up the hill to take a photograph of the stucco work that's all through the Corbett Center? Think about that. How often do tourists run up the hill to take snapshots of the parking lots and fast food chains on Prospect? Have you ever seen a wedding photo in front of the A&W? I haven't. Then where do these tourists go when they visit our fine city? They travel downtown. They flock to Waterloo Road, Church Street, to see their magnificent homes. They visit the city market. They tour the legislature and old government house. And yes, they come to this, the historic Garrison District. They visit Phoenix Square, where we stand, City Hall, the Justice Building, the Sports Hall of Fame, the barracks, the old post office, Officers Square with the York Sudbury Museum, the antique cannons, which have disappeared, and my favorite elements, the historic trees and ornate iron fence, which was hand-forged in England and installed by hand with cut sandstone in individually placed flagstones. Its black finish is a mark of what this national and provincial historic site has seen. There isn't a picture from any visitor to Fredericton's downtown that does not include Officers Square and its character-defining elements. To erase these elements is to erase the square. I personally do not want to see a concrete wall and a shadeless field where once there was a playground for kids, a backdrop for wedding photos, and a hub for cultural celebrations, soon to be as old as the square itself. I personally do not want to see 4-story condos blocking my view of the river and taking up valuable parking space. What would Paris, France, look like if its city council had voted to build an office tower beside the Eiffel Tower? What would London look like if their city council had voted to sacrifice Big Ben for big business? European cities value their heritage and have the foresight to understand the economic values of said heritage. In my 12 years living downtown, I've seen the demolition of over 25 historic places and sites, some demolished for parking lots, some for rider turn lanes, some for characterless condos, and others simply in the name of progress. Now, progress is defined in the Webster's Dictionary as the forward, onward movement towards a destination. What is our destination? What is the place that the City Council is trying to head towards? Are we aiming to be like Montreal, like Toronto, like Vancouver? Yes, these are great cities, but they are not Fredericton. We do not have the same history, the same customs, or the same cultures. We are unique, and the more we try to be like everyone else, the less we become the more we become less of ourselves. I've been told that the city has our best interests at heart, but do they? If they had our best interests at heart, there would not have been the outcry there was this past week when the CBC broke the news about the trees. Council, if you had our best interests at heart, you would ask for a second and a third opinion on how these trees could be saved. Transparency, yes. There are other options. You would get a second and third opinion on the removal of the historic fence which borders the park. Council, all we, the citizens of Fredericton, are asking is for our voices to be thoughtfully heard, our questions to be truthfully answered, and a compromise to be made. We did not fold when York Street School was set to be demolished. Remember that? Okay. We did not fold when the Beaverbrook Pool was set to be closed. The teens, any teens out there, skateboarders? They did not fold with the skate park, and they're still pushing, and we need to help them. We should all be in this together. And we will not fold with the preservation of Officers Square. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to invite